about land leasing.
Sure. Put it
So
here.
you clip it on this side,
Okay.
and then you want to clip this onto something, or do you want to just hold it?
I can just hold it. I don't really have anything. You can do it like right here. Does that work? All right. Perfect.
Perfect. And then, do you have a presentation or anything?
Mm-mm.
No?
Nope. All right. I might pull this chair out. That's okay. Because my feet are very swollen. So. Okay. Hi. I'm going to sit because my ankles are very swollen right now. But my name is Chelsea Hernandez, or Salesman Hernandez, but I usually just say Hernandez. I am an entrepreneur in all the ways, and my urban farm I started in 2017 on a vacant lot in East Orange, New Jersey, so very close to where Tobias is from. I started the business after working in retail management and buying in Manhattan, and I wanted to connect back to my roots of who I always was. I grew up in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, on a small 5-acre farm with, as a young child, I raised dairy goats and chickens and had horses and grew up with all that around me. And then as I got older, of course, you want to run away from the very thing that is good from you, and so I did. And it took me quite a while, but not too long, to reconnect back to it. And so I left that career in April of 2017 and started working for a nonprofit in Clifton and Patterson called City Green, with this big old dream that I wanted to have an urban farm. I was kind of naive in a lot of ways with it, but now reflecting. But I was very inspired and motivated by all these changes that are happening in our agricultural systems slowly, like the grassroots movements through market gardening and things like that. And so I just started really submerging myself back into that world and reconnecting with people from the farming community I grew up in. Just basically kind of going everywhere I could to learn more and more and connect with more and more people, network, learn. Just really wanted to completely immerse myself in it. And so after a growing season with City Green, I worked around their satellite gardens throughout Patterson. They have like educational learning gardens for like young children, and then they also have like a bigger Eastside Park location, and that was kind of where I flourished. It was like a space. It was the original space for their actual nonprofit, and it hadn't really had a lot of the love that it had used to have. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of like dreaming up how to make it more interactive for the students when they came, but also like it was about practice for me, because I had always been an avid gardener, even as a young child, but never a farmer. Like I didn't have like the skills that it took. And when I said that I was kind of naive, I learned really fast that plants need a lot more than you think. They need a lot of attention. They're all different. They need nutrition. There's so many different things at play that will affect if you even get a harvest out of it. And so really grateful that I had that opportunity. It was like I left like a full career to do this. Took an enormous pay cut, but at least I was getting paid to make mistakes. So I did that for a little bit. And then in the fall of 2017 is when I started really aggressively seeking land. And so that leads me to what kind of I'm here to talk to you about. It's not the outcome that you would want, but it's a story, so I'll share it. So I found this piece of land by, what I did is I used Google Earth, right? Like I knew I wanted it to be in East Orange. It's kind of a food desert. It's an area in Essex County that's kind of seen as like not good. Nobody really wants to be there. We own our home in East Orange, so like I kind of wanted to find a way to connect to that community and do good in the community. And so I just looked and I found this lot. It was perfect. It was a 1/4 acre, south-facing slope, totally clear. there was like great soil. We had it tested, and it hadn't had anything built on it. The only thing it ever had was a swimming pool, in the ground swimming pool that was filled in one section. And then that one section, it was like really rocky and it had high copper content, so we ended up just building raised beds on it. But everywhere else I could do in-ground farming, and it was amazing. So it was perfectly like right down the street from my house, less than a mile. And the landlord thought it was a good idea and was supportive. But that's kind of where the mistakes started happening for me, which is where I put everything into that piece of land on a handshake, basically. And so that's kind of what I'm here to share with you in that experience, that I tried to approach the city and have the type of conversation where like I wanted to work with them and have a project and collaborate. And it was like, I couldn't figure it out. I was, especially as like a young woman, like I just didn't know like how to even navigate that. So I just kind of shrunk away from it and got like kind of timid. And I was like, you know what, I'll just show them and then they'll love it. And it didn't quite work out that way either. So that was like some of the areas where my mistakes first started. I really should have worked harder, I feel, in the beginning to make sure that I had the support of my jurisdiction in my city, and that I fought for that in the beginning before I started investing in the community, because you can only do so much before you can't take it anymore. So yeah, I did that I just kept going. I just kept persevering and pushing through it. That first growing season was insane. I was probably working like 18-hour days because, like Tobias had said in his little talk about what he went through, you find out really fast that farming isn't just farming. Farming is marketing. Farming is making money somehow. Like that was like the big thing. And that was kind of the big theme for me growing up as well. Like I saw our family farm kind of suffer because there was no income from it. It was just like, it was so beautiful to grow up that way, but there was nothing to sustain it. So sustainability isn't just about growing things with like regenerative and sustainable practices, but it's also about financial stability, and that's a big thing in agriculture that I think is missing. So that relates back to the land leasing, because obviously if you don't have like a solid foundation, which is literally what your land is, it's your foundation for your business, then everything else falls away from that, and just it becomes really difficult. So I really truly believe that having resources available like this, where you can bring people together to collaborate and find ways to improve urban agriculture, especially for young women that are interested in this career path, I think it's really important that we address like being able to confidently move forward into these businesses and these nonprofits, knowing that we're supported and we know what to look for. And so yeah, with my land, last year I did the full growing season in 2017 or 2018, but this year in early spring, I went to the farm one day, and actually it was really crazy timing because I had just had it was with the NJDA. They came through and they did this, like it was so inspiring and beautiful, and like I finally like had like the platform to display the work I had been doing. And then a week later I came to the farm and there was a big for sale sign right on it, and no notice from the guy that was leasing me the land. And then when I did call him about it, it turned into this whole, he was yelling at me. He was basically telling me that I owed him money, even though he told me like it was a handshake, like we didn't have a pay agreement. Like it was just like, you're here and I want you to do this. And so that was really rough. And I also had just found out I was pregnant at that time too. So I was in a big place in my life, right? And about to sign a lease on a retail storefront. So, so all those things at once. And yeah, so it just became like a really, it fell apart there, but then also fell back together again, because then I realized that I could focus the energy onto the making money portion of the business for now, and then revisit the urban farming or the regular farming, whatever I decide, when I have a steady place to put the products to move them to the community. And so that's where I am now. I have a retail storefront in Bloomfield where I sell local produce, value-added products, meats, eggs, dairy, all sourced from New Jersey farms when I can. These winter months are tougher. I have to source a little bit further. But yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell with that. I'm trying to think, am I on time? It's 8:57. Yeah. So yeah, I spent this last year kind of like letting the farm go. And then in September was like the last day. The end of September was the end of the lease for me. And so that was like a really emotional time. And then I opened the store on September 27th. Like it was like really crazy timing. And so I don't think I would change anything from how it went, but I do really like believe that if I had had a more sturdy beginning to the farm, that could have survived alongside the store, and it could have been a much more synergistic moment for me, and not so much a trade-off between two worlds. But I do know now that when I am ready to start farming again in that community or further away or wherever, I am not going to lease land. So just FYI, unless I have a really good long-term agreement. But to invest so much of yourself, because you pour yourself into that soil, like every ounce of you is there. Like that place was like I lived there, like I was there, and you can't take that back from that land. And so I think that, the next time I really commit myself to a farm, it's going to be my forever or close to forever farm. And it kind of has opened up a new world of opportunity, though, for me to think about how I want the future to go for my career in agriculture. And yeah, so hard lesson learned, but I learned it. So that's my advice, and what I really want you all to glean from my experience is that to go into it exposing all of the things, especially addressing the actual terms of your lease agreements if you're looking at a lease, or the actual, if the farm is just like, if the farmland is actually what you're looking for, or if it's something that like you're compromising a lot on, like don't do that. Like just go for the right and the best option for you, and don't like accept anything less than that. And if your gut tells you it's not going to be good, then listen. So yeah, that's my story. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Sure. I had a written agreement, but it was very loose. It was like, and it was written down, but it wasn't going to protect me. See, I didn't have a lawyer look at it or do anything, and that was the mistake. Maybe if I had had like a true lease, but then the landlord wouldn't have been interested in continuing with the lease if I did it that way. Yeah, which I already knew. So I just went into it with that. He wanted to keep it under the table, didn't want to have any, yeah.
Lease land, and things to go over in
Yeah.
a contract, all kinds of stipulations that you wouldn't necessarily think of.
Yeah. No, it's true.
What street were you on? With the south facing slope?
It was off of Dodge Street on Cottage Place. Yeah, it was.
Right on like south of
Yeah, it's really close to Glen Ridge. To Glen Ridge and Bloomfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Does anyone else have questions? Yes.
Isn't there some place you can go in New Jersey to look for farm that's available for lease? Is it through the SAD?
Farm link, I think.
Yeah.
I think the FarmLink program is going to be one of the discussions
So that'll
later
come
in
up
the
again?
program. Yep. So yep, there'll be a presentation on the leasing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, thank you, Chelsea. And we'll see everybody next week. Remember your homework assignment this week's going to be to write your vision and your mission statement. So have a good week.